Alright, hello everybody. Welcome back to more Pick'ems. Again, I'm here with Rud.
Yes, this is another episode of Pick'ems. I already forgot. Is this like your fifth one?
This is going to be week 5.
Yeah.
Well, technically week 5, technically, not really technically, it is the Kickoff Clash tournament bracket for the North America or West region or APAC, or which is known as the East region. So, this past weekend, we had the final changes to the brackets. So, Valiant, they yeah, we'll get onto them in a minute. So quickly to recap with East region. Seoul upset. I feel like it was an upset. 3-0ing the Fusion to start off the
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, it was definitely an upset with how good the Fusion were looking last weekend, going into this match and getting dominated. And it,
Yeah,
it really just set the tone for the Fusion this entire
yeah. That's
week.
gonna be a theme of the weekend outside of one match that they had. Then we have the Spark taking on the Hunters. The Hunters lost 3-1 to the Spark. I think that Spark really kind of proves that they're really good, like how dominant they are right now during this week.
Yeah,
More so than they did last week.
they're so consistent. You see that Goose Way, whenever they play Goose Way, and all their other players right now. Shy's really popping off. Super Rich doing really well right now. I'm starting to get a hang of like all these Spark players out. I used to not be like a good fan of this team because I didn't really like know what they could do, especially with, like some of these players having. I think this is like the best Spark we've seen since like
Oh, easily because they've never hit number one
easily.
ever, which they're
Yeah,
number one seed in
which
APAC right
yeah,
now.
number one seed did not expect that whatsoever.
Like, have
I was
they
expecting them
lost
to,
a game?
they've lost one game. I do Shanghai.
Yeah, they lost
That's
to
who they lost.
Shanghai on
Which
last week, which was an upset in and of itself. I feel like sure it's Shanghai, but you got to think Shanghai was just coming off of the 3-0 from Fusion, and then they were able to reverse sweep the Spark.
but I mean, just like think of it like mentally, like your only loss being against the 2021 Grand Finals champions. Like that's
And
got
it
to
being
boost
a
your
close game
confidence.
throughout, like that was a really close game
Yeah,
between the two. And
yeah,
then Spark coming in here into this week and just doing absolutely beautifully and securing that first seed pretty handily. Dragons would have had to
You-
get 2 3-0s this week in order to even tie the Spark.
yeah. They did look a bit rough against the Fusion, I'd say, but other than that, you really can't complain.
But again, like Fusion, they worked they again at the start of the season looked really strong. So
Fusion's a weird team. Like they Fusion absolutely choked a win from that Spark, but that's not
yeah,
here and
yeah, they
there.
did. But that is playoffs Fusion for you. The Charge in Dragons match. No, wasn't this the reverse sweep Shanghai did, or was that against Valiant?
That was no. I'm pretty sure this was. I didn't remember this being a 3-2, honestly.
Neither do I, but then again, I really
I
didn't watch
I
this
have
match.
I have no recollection of this game. I do not remember why.
You know, I have no
I I, I
recollection of
I
the
know
game.
Shanghai likes their map fives,
Yeah, as we
but
can see this week, the half of their games they went to map 5, the other half they went to map 4. So, they're yet to pick up a 3-0 victory this season. Like even when they went against like the Spark, they still got 3-2. When they went against Shanghai, the Philly, they got 3-0'd. Like they're yet to 3-0 a team yet.
yeah, the only
So
time they've been in a 3-0 is on the receiving end.
yeah, only 3-0 record they have is of the loss they took in their first game. That's the unfortunate part. However, Dragons started to look really strong again, especially after like kind of learning at the beginning of the week that uh, Shanghai last week was playing at super high ping. They're still playing at super high ping, so it's just a matter of will that ping be on their side.
Well, I still think that, or well, I'm not getting to that point where like, I mean, we look at this Dragons record, and while it hasn't been pretty, it's still a 5-1 record, which is still number 2 in APAC. It's still really good.
It's a solid one too, because I think the next closest is what Fusion at a fourth,
No,
4-2.
Soul at full 4-2.
It was all right. A Seoul. Oh yeah, I'm literally looking at it. They literally have lost 3 of the games here. Yeah, they're at a 3-3 record too. So I was like, I mean, getting on though. Hunters Fusion. That was the first time that the Hunters had looked any decent this season. Mainly because the Hunters won. But other than that, I mean, like, Hunters has looked really disappointing, and that's kind of sad because you still have all those phenomenal players, including the MVP.
Yeah, it's just another instance of the MVP not playing up to par. We've seen it with, like Fleta, like even this year right now. We've seen it with Sinatra. We've seen it with Jonak. They just don't have the same performance as they do on their MVP year. So it's unfortunate, but that's what happens.
Yeah, and then, I mean, honestly, I feel like a lot of the issue was, like, just that, I don't know, the Chengdu Hunters just don't really have that strong of a backline. I mean, they still have great healers. I'm not gonna, like, discount, like, Monk in them, but the combo of Jinmu and Yveltal was just really strong, and the fact that they got rid of Yveltal was, I feel like, is a huge boon onto their roster. So going on, Seoul Charge. Seoul gets a 3-0 against Charge. It really is kind of expected. I mean, Charge is a team that really they're bottom seed for a reason. Like,
yeah, I think they kind of want to just. I think Chargers. Let's face it, they're kind of the worst team in APAC right now.
yeah, and there's some. I want to say that they're the worst team in general. Are they?
No, they're not the worst team in
Are
general.
they
Let's be
lower
honest.
than Vancouver?
No, they have a win.
Who do they beat? I don't
They
remember them
beat
getting win.
Valiant. They beat
Oh
Valiant.
yeah, they beat the Valiant. Yeah. All right.
Worst
Well,
team in APAC. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But the reason why I say that they're not, or the reason why I say the Valiant is better at them, Valiant are taking multiple of these
yeah,
teams,
and
including Seoul, including Shanghai, to them at fives, and that's why, like, I have more faith in this Valiant roster than I do Charge, who Charge is consistently getting 3-0'd against the Dynasty, against the Spark. And
yeah.
they did take them at 5 to Dragons, but you know who else did? The Valiant. So, it's just
You don't know who else
Charge
did?
has.
Almost every team so far.
Yeah, and yeah.
The only team that they have faced that hasn't is Philly and
I mean,
and
Spark beat them
Seoul.
in the Map 5, yeah, and still 1-3.
Oh, and
And
Hunters.
Hunters, yeah, so not.
Yeah, so they've taken 2 map 5s. Both of them were to Charge and Valiant this week, and they did do the one against Spark last week. So, but that's enough of Shanghai. So, Valiant and Shanghai.
So it was not enough of Shanghai.
No, not enough Shanghai. We need more Shanghai. Uh,
Yeah,
Valiant. Honestly, I want to make this more talk about the Valiant because the Valiant are. I think that this was their shining moment of the week and kind of gave everyone hope that maybe they can pick up a win this week. And honest to God, I thought that they were gonna do it here. Yeah, because this was the reverse sweep that Shanghai pulled off. It was
no,
everyone
it
was
wasn't.
thinking. Yeah, I could have sworn it was.
It was it. Every single Map 5 they've Valiant's done, or most of them at least, have been them taking like control or push, losing on like a hybrid or escort map, and them taking either hybrid or escort or like any of
I
the
wish
other
I could
game
see a
modes.
review of the
Them
game.
them losing 2 more games, or no, not losing 2 more games, and then it's they win the next one and they lose the last 2. It's weird. It happened like multiple times, and it's like that's what happened with this the game that they actually won, which I'll talk about that when it happens. But it's
Uh,
just
yeah,
weird that the Valiant just needs better ways to play all types of game modes. Like if they can do better on escort, they can do better on
okay, yeah, it was a
uh
reverse sweep. All right.
they can do better on escort if they can do better on hybrid
Yeah,
and even
Valiant does
control
need to. Yeah, I think that is
because
something that Valiant does need to
they
pick
usually
up
play
on.
multiple controls.
Like
Just
they have really good
like
players
especially
too.
escort because their escort isn't that great. I
Yeah, their
just think
escort
that
isn't. Which is kind of weird because they're really good at push. Like they're actually really good at push, and it just kind of feels like it's escort, but like both attack and
it's like a
defense at the
mixture of
same time.
escort and
Control.
yeah.
So I mean, like the Valiant should be good at escort, and that's that is definitely their issue. But like they still have amazing players: Coldest, Innovation, Dia. They have the pieces, and this match against the Dragons really kind of showed just how strong the Valiant can be.
Although I think there is a worrying point about the Valiant to where they're strong on that Zarya account that they played, but the actual main bread and butter of this Overwatch 2 meta was Winston. And they didn't really have that great of an answer for Winston when they
Well,
did try to play it.
if we see this past week, we could see that Zarya's kind of taken over a lot more, which is something that Valiant has been one of the strongest teams at.
It's really been more the Winston. Like Shanghai's kind of converted from uh Zarya to Winston. So has the Soul and even Spark. Most of the top teams are
Yeah,
going
it
Winston.
would be good for Valiant to pick up a Winston player if possible, or just get their tank players to start picking up that
But
Winston.
we will have to see because next patch might be totally different. So
Yeah, because
maybe
we're gonna be seeing Sojourn hit the meta. Like I'm already gonna call that now, because we're seeing Soldier get nerfed, and we're also seeing Sojourn get buffed. So there's definitely an opportunity to see meta completely shift.
this all right. And then going on a Saturday, May 28th, the Spark versus Guangzhou match. That was a 3-0. What else can we say about that?
I
I
mean, it
don't
just
really
kind of
want
shows just
to
how
talk Guangzhou.
great the Spark are. I mean,
Yeah,
Goushue,
it's more.
Bernard, and Architect, Shy, like this team is busted.
Yeah,
Is Architect
it
still
really.
on the team? I actually don't remember.
Oh,
I just kind of blindly said Architect.
I'm pretty sure he
I
is, but I don't think he's the starter.
No, I know that he's not the starter, but
I know it's Shy and Alpha Yi.
yeah, Alpha Yi.
Another one.
Alpha Yi is
Alfie's
a standout player. I think that he's done phenomenal.
such a good rookie. He may not be rookie of the year, but he's definitely in the running
Yeah, like
because
as
they're
the
just so there's so many good rookies this year. Jeez, it's
now,
like a 2020. I feel because 2020 had a lot of good rookies too.
yeah, I mean like Spark are definitely looking like they might even take this entire tournament. That's my prediction. I think that they're definitely gonna make it to finals of the tournament, depending on what it comes to. But we're yet to see that. So on to another Dragons match because we haven't had enough Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai takes the Hunters 3-1. I This is a game that I flipped back and forth with. Uh, Mainly because we look at how Shanghai performed the last 2 days. They went map 5 against the Charge, and they went map 5 against the Valiant. Two teams that were the lowest in APAC. Hunters, on the other hand, sure they lost to Spark, but Spark was number one in APAC already. And then they beat the Fusion. Like they were looking really strong, and so I was like, they were looking fairly okay, fairly strong. So I was like, okay, give Chengdu the benefit of the doubt. They can pick up the victory against Dragons in a close game, just because Shanghai's games have all been close so far. That wasn't the case. Hunters completely dropped the ball, lost 3-1, and it made me very sad.
On the other hand, I did think that despite Shanghai going very close to the two bottom teams, I did think that, the Hunters. I was like, okay, that Philly win. I looked at it from yesterday, or Thursday. I saw that game against Philly, and I was like, okay, Philly's on a downward trend, and then they beat Fusion again, and I was like, well, okay, now they're really at a downward trend. So I didn't think of Fusion as that great of a win anymore, and then them losing to Seoul, I just didn't have any faith in the Hunters to pick the Dragons, or pick the Hunters, I should say. So that's why I picked the Dragons.
So the upset that wasn't to be, the Valiant in the Fusion. I got the prediction in the opposite direction. The Fusion 3-1 on the Valiant. Both teams
Yeah,
look really strong here, which is kind of surprising, especially since Philly wasn't looking that good. And Valiant, I mean, they were looking really strong the day previous against the Dragons.
yeah. I'm actually surprised I did. I'm usually more safe. I wanted to be safe with the Fusion, but this time I kind of went for the Valiant win, like prematurely. You know, the Fusion were able to, you know, they were able to put up a fight against the Valiant, and they eventually won because they were just a better team at that point. Because I think Apex kind of divided in two tiers right now: the people that went to the tournament and the people that didn't. And I just
Well,
think
that's also
that the
how
people that
West region is also divided. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I mean, you have London who didn't go to the tournament, and London's looking decent, but
That's
that's
just
because
because nobody is expecting the Reinhardt. Let's be honest.
yeah, that's true. But
Like
I don't know,
Chadi, bro.
they look. It's
Hottie
like
the Chad.
Chengdu of early Chengdu. The way they did not play with the meta was no matter what. That's same thing with London. I think if they go forward that, they might be able to potentially do more. Although I think with this, okay, we're talking about. I'll just talk about that when that happens. I'm going too far off beat.
I don't know
What
what
did
that
I?
is outside. I don't know if it's picking up on the mic or not, but like, God, I don't know what that is. All right, let's quickly get to it because I know there's a game that you and I are like itching to talk about so badly. So let's quickly go through it. Shanghai Seal, uh, three
Uh,
one. I mean,
yeah,
I.
Boston was looking good. Boston was looking good at the start of the
Oh yeah,
round, but
yeah. Boston was looking dominant there, taking that control map, and then they just became the Seal Dynasty, and then they lost.
uh,
I
I
think
mean,
I
there was one
think
team that didn't lose. There was one team that didn't lose that game, the Boston Uprising. So good on you, Boston Uprising.
yep.
You didn't do so good against the Dallas Fuel, but you did very well against the Dragons, not losing to them.
Yeah,
So
Seal. Then they were like, "All right, guys. Seal, we gave you your win. Now we're gonna go to sleep now because we have a game against Dallas in a few hours. So you're gonna have to pick up the game." And they lost.
yeah,
So
so not joking. Yeah, this is kind of a disappointment for me. I did think that this match was gonna go really well, especially for the dynasty. I was taking into consideration of how how fishy the dragons have been or how they've been playing, and I was like, okay, Seoul, they have some dominant performances, and they have some wishy-washy ones, but at the end of the day, Seoul was looking really good, against Fusion, Charge, and even their past other games as well. So I thought, I could do it. So they could probably beat it. That if this is usually one of those games, one of those rivalries that are just so good no matter what season we're in. But this one just wasn't one.
this is
I just
also
don't
their
know.
first meeting though, so I really wouldn't say that it's like kind of ruined.
It's
Because I mean,
not
like
ruined,
you
but
also got to think like Shanghai's playing on high ping, and they're both playing on a game that they really haven't had a ton of experience on.
I mean that's
So
the thing.
both
Shanghai is on the high ping,
yeah,
and they
both
won
teams
against.
have hit big struggles. I mean, like Seoul has like losing Jonak, for example, having to quickly get a new player right before the season begins, and having to
Creative's not
get the
new.
team accustomed to him. Huh?
Creative has been on this since 2020.
I Oh, did they just run with creative? I thought they got a new player.
Yeah, they just had creative.
All right.
Who
Well,
still looks pretty good. Like no matter what season he's in, creative is always in good.
that's the thing is like
So,
Seal. Both teams are looking good. Like Seal still has their moments. They just had a rough
like
patch here against the Dragons.
yeah.
I mean, like we look at the rest of
Smurf.
their games this week. They won 3-0 in both of them.
Yeah, like the players on the dynasty are doing really well. Like we talk about that Prophet doing just so well, just playoffs Prophet coming up on like the games they did win, but this match it wasn't really like that.
It's
Same
like
with
yeah,
like
you have players like
Smurfs,
Prophet,
Winston.
Smurf. There's also a Fitz as well. Like they have such great players that it's just they're I don't know. I guess it's just like they're not ready for
It's
Overwatch
Soul
2.
Dynasty. Soul Dynasty has the same problem that like another team in the West has, in that like when their DPS is popping off, it's usually just one of them. It's not both of them at the same time. And if they can find a way for both Fitz and Profit to tear through the enemy team at the same time, they'll probably start to be able to pick up some like consistent performances. And yeah,
The main event of East Region, or at least this discussion,
I got my 2 points from it, surprisingly.
it has taken the Los Angeles Valiant. I don't know how many games.
I want to say it's 26.
That would mean that they are third place for the longest losing streak in professional sports history, just behind the Philadelphia 76ers and the Shanghai Dragons. But
I could be wrong by that 26, but I think that's what they are right now.
that doesn't matter. All that matters is that the Los Angeles Valiant pick up the victory against the Chengdu Hunters.
Yeah,
Finally.
in a 3-1 too. It wasn't like the usual map fives that they go to because they love taking teams to map five. Like they're actually, I saw the scoreline go from Valiant to Hunters to Valiant, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh, Chengdu's
Let
gonna
me
take
guess.
this map and it's
Let
gonna
me
go to map
guess.
five
Chengdu's
and they're
gonna
gonna.
take. Yeah, Chengdu's gonna take map 4 and 5. No, they actually closed it out, which good thing they did, because I feel like if they lost map 4, they might have just been boomed on map 5, and then we see Valiant go on 6 uh this kickoff clash.
Yeah, and
But
Valiant are
thank
finally not the bottom team
they're
in the
yeah,
region. They
they're
went
actually
over
like
the
not the bottom by
charge
like, yeah, they're over the charge now, which woo, let's
purely by
go. And
differential. But this is a new Valiant. This is a new year, and man, it is like as much as I'm not a fan of like the like management. I absolutely love this team just for the fact that they finally have like they have that underdog story like Shanghai. It's just a matter of how good can they get to at this point in the tournament now, or not the point in the tournament, but in the season. Like how far are they gonna go? How many wins are they gonna get? Who are they gonna beat? Like, is it just gonna be like the Hunters and the Charge, or is it gonna be Shanghai, Seoul, Spark?
which it does seem like an uphill battle because they're still 1 and 5. Let's not forget it's,
Yeah, no.
but
But
and they still are like they
everyone said that when
still.
Shanghai got their first win. That's like, well, yeah, sure, Shanghai got their first win, but they're also like, oh, they're 1-2.
I mean, they did like a winless basically an entire like
So did
one.
the both Valiant
It's
and Shanghai went through the entire season without getting a win. In fact, Valiant
but
was even worse because
this
they never took maps. Shanghai was constantly taking map fives.
I mean, this Valiant and the last Valiant are completely different though. But like, it's still just, I wouldn't hold your breath. They could, especially if the meta's in their favor. And I just want to say that, I'm glad that, players like Coldus and especially Dia. Dia definitely deserve that win.
Yeah, especially
Like,
after coming off of the last time he's played was in season one Shanghai. Which back to that point when you were saying that it's a whole new Valiant, it was a whole new Dragons when they got that first victory, and there was still the doubt in Shanghai. There's going to be doubt in Valiant until they can actually prove themselves. Hopefully in the what's the next one? Mid-season Madness or June Joust? Yeah, Mid-season Madness. I don't know why they changed it from June Joust, but
It's like multiverse of madness in here.
yep. You know, yeah, Valiant jumped the multiverse to one where they're actually good. Uh, so as as much as I hate the fact I got 0 points on that because I kept jumping back and forth whether or not I wanted to give Valiant the victory. Like I'm so happy that I was wrong. Like at the same time because Valiant deserved it. Like they really do.
I know. I'm happy I got my points.
If only they done it to Philly.
Alright,
Speaking of
so,
Philly, Spark versus Philly. Philly takes them at 5. Kind of a
so
surprise to me.
yeah, impressive for Philly. I mean, not impressive the way they choked that ending, but definitely not what most people were expecting, I feel.
Yeah, no, when it came to that point, I was like, all right, Spark's gonna 3-0. Or they're gonna 3-0, maybe 3-1. Because Valiant, the Fusion have been like they took them out from Chengdu. They let Valiant take them out. I was like, maybe they'll take them out from Spark. They were able to take the 2 maps, so it was a nice showing from both teams. I feel.
Except for lap map. But anyways, now on to our next matches.
Now on to the West region. Again, I want to go through this a little quickly because these videos have taken way too long.
Yeah, I know.
We're already a half hour in.
Gosh,
So
we should speed run.
London Glads. Let's just talk about the teams in general. Going from like start to beginning. London, they lost against the Gladiators, but then Saturday, they were able to beat the Rain.
Yeah,
So
which
we'll talk about the
unfortunately,
Rain match in a minute, but like Glads, like that, seeing the Gladiators pick up that Reinhardt just to take on the Spitfire was really interesting, and it was kind of just like an assertment of dominance.
yeah, same thing that happened in the rain match. They took up that Reinhardt. It's absolutely
instead of
diffed.
London
Absolutely
getting
diffed.
instead of London getting diffed on the Rhine, it was Rain. It was Gator, the dude who made Reinhardt his bread and butter, got absolutely MTD'd to oblivion. In
He
fact, he
got
wasn't even
app.
playing half the time.
No, they had Hawk in, and they wanted Hawk to go the mirror.
And then we also saw Leg Day get blocked by Gator on Twitter, which that
Yeah,
was
so
beautiful.
Atlanta
Uh,
is kind of molding, and it makes it like their matches.
yeah, no, that match was really disappointing as a Rain fan. And we see the reason why because it was made known after the fact that the Atlanta Rain, they never went up against Reinhardt comps in scrims because they never scrimmed London. That was a team that they refused to scrim, which kind of forced them to come up with literally nothing to counter this Reinhardt composition, and they just couldn't mirror it, which is kind of surprising because you would think that they would try to like run Gator, someone who's well known for his Reinhardt, to try to fight the Spitfire, fight Hottie and his Reinhardt, but it was a disappointing game for all Atlanta Rain fans. But the Gladiators and Rain, their match on Sunday, that was the Gladiators basically just wanted to make fun of the Rain by just going Reinhardt and completely sweeping them, which was peak comedy.
I think we probably need to talk about Defiant Excelsior. Because we talked about London and Glads for like a favorite, and we need to talk about
Oh,
the Rain for a
I
while.
was talking about the Rain Glads match
Oh,
where Rain got absolutely swept by Rainer or
and
by
that's on
Reiner and
Sunday.
his
So I mean,
Reinhardt.
we can talk about that when we get to Rain.
So Toronto
Yeah.
Nixel. I mean, I really don't know what to say about this because I mean Toronto and Nixel, they're okay teams. I'm not really too keen on either of them. What do you have to say about it?
There really isn't that much to say. Like the better team just or the team that went to the tournament just beat the team that's not going to the tournament. That's just how I see it.
Which is the
It
same
was
thing that
just,
happened right after the Shock Titans. I don't really feel like talking about it. Other than the
I
fact
mean,
that, haha,
we could talk
Vancouver
about,
took them out.
yeah, we could talk about how Vancouver took a map on a full hold even too, which
I don't know.
is
I was working when this happened, so I didn't see any of these games yesterday. Oh, on Friday. So I have no idea what happened this day. All I know is that I saw that I got every game correct. So Outlaws and Eternal. Let's
oh,
we've already
are you finished talking about the rain? Are you
yeah
good?
I we already talked about haha funny Hottie Reinhardt. So London in Houston, not London, Houston and Paris, a game that nobody expected to go map 5. I feel.
Nobody expected the Pirates to go up 2-0 too.
Yeah, no, Outlaws having to reverse sweep. Like I was getting so sad because I'm not only am I a huge Atlanta fan, I'm also a pretty big Houston fan. So just to see them go up 0-2, I was like, man, is this just gonna be like a day where all of my teams like are losing? And it almost was. But I honestly wouldn't have cared because I do also like Paris, even though they are the worst ever. So it was I don't know. To be honest, I really didn't pay attention to any of these games.
And that would have been Paris's first win coming off the season against the Houston Outlaws, which would have been very surprising. I don't think like it would have been the first win,
Yeah,
especially
it's
with
like the
them.
team that got that 3-0 the Dallas Fuel also got 3-0 by the Paris Eternal. Like it's just
But
huh?
I think that's enough said with Houston and Eternal.
All right, so Sir Majed in the Floor Mayhem.
Dude,
Again, I will
this
I will
game
sing this man's praise for all eternity.
I was actually mauling over this game, dude. I was watching the Justice and I was like, "What are you doing?" Because I that that first push round really says it all. Like Mayhem were winning while the Justice had 17 to like I think it was like 13. They had more final blows and yet they were losing all the fights. How are you doing that? How did you how was that happening? Why would that happen? That I was mauling over that, and especially the other games were even more worse. So Justice at least one push, but they just got absolutely diffed on probably yeah on like tank and support. I feel like they just got absolutely diffed, especially Sir Majed over Krillin. Like Sir Majed,
I don't know.
even on
Hold on.
the
First, I want to quickly talk about Krillin there. I don't get why Justice picked up Krillin. They saw
it's
how
because
terrible he did on the London Spitfire. Why would they give him a chance on the Justice?
yeah, I know the reasoning is oh Vigilante is 17 so they can't play him, but like if you're gonna have another flexible player, you might as well get one that's gonna help you win. Like he's okay, but like last year the Justice Sports were okay and they weren't really like stand out. They were just like oh they're just
Like,
another
like
support
imagine if
duo.
Justice picked up someone like Jonak. Sure, he's not as great as good as he used to be, but imagine if they got Jonak and he actually stayed with the league. I feel like Justice probably would have been a top threat because you would have had Happy, you would have had Decay, you would have had Mag, and you would have had Jonak. That is a terrifying lineup. It don't really matter who that other support player is.
I feel like they could have gotten like they just could have gotten like some
They could have
any
picked up
other
Crimzo, which would
no
have
they
been
couldn't have.
amazing. I may have converted to a Justice fan.
That'd be terrible if they did. It'd make no sense. I don't know why
I
they would do that ever do.
mean, I guess that's a good segue. Boston, Dallas.
But like no,
Boston
I'm
did
not.
that mistake.
Wait, I'm not done talking about. Oh, whatever.
Screw the Justice. They suck.
I was gonna talk about Sherma Jed, who
Oh
is
yes. Oh, all right. All right. We can keep talking about Sir
okay.
Shed.
I don't know. I just want to talk about that one play he had on Ilios where he went at 3K. He that was. I think that summed up that entire match. Like in its entirety was that one play where Sir Majed killed like 3 people.
The man is just goated. I think that it's fair to say that he might be rookie of the year easily.
I think only if Florida does like really good, yeah, he'll definitely have a chance. But like, yeah, there's just so many good rookies, so we'll see. All right, now we can go to Boston versus Fuel.
I have nothing to say about this. It was Dallas Fuel being Dallas Fuel, and it was the Boston Uprising being the Boston Uprising post season one. Uh, it's, Boston sucks. I mean, it's just the sad, disappointing
I
truth.
think, yeah, it's just Fuel surrounding themselves as like the top team.
Yeah, they
Like
they could have
they,
threw this game and went 0-3 against the Uprising just to ensure that the Justice didn't make it to the tournament, because that was what was like the Justice's like chance at making it in. It like whether or not Boston 3-0 Dallas or not, which would have been hilarious. I'm gonna be honest.
but I don't feel like Fuel wants to ruin their record over a team that they're not even gonna face.
They're already 5-1. Like they might as well go 4 and
But
2.
you know who's also 5-1? I mean, not 5-1. Who's 6-0? The Shock, and I don't think they want to. I think they probably want to beat the Shock and then have someone else beat the Shock and then have them get the number one spot in all the
I mean
standings. I think that's probably
Dallas.
their
I
goal.
mean Shock won't face Dallas like up until
But
literally the third round winners.
I'm just talking about like throughout the entire season. I think Fuel's goal through the entire season to just be the top team, and that like loss against Houston kind of like put a wrench
Stop
in
that,
their
yeah.
plans. So I think they just want to beat the Shock, which I think they have next week, or like no, in the week after, or just the week after Kickoff Clash. I think they do.
Which
Or
also, if Saturday they might face each other, so because you got to
which
think we go
that's
into
gonna be.
here Thursday. Shock's beating Justice. That's
Let's talk about that later. We still
yeah.
haven't talked about Reigns and
We did.
Gladiators, which
I
we
already
kind of
did.
did,
That was
but like we didn't mention. No, let's just
Gladiators
say
played
Gladiators
Reinhardt
was
and
wow.
swept.
All
I
right,
don't want to sit here and
but like,
talk for an hour.
let's just talk about these games like individually. I guess like because we're gonna say like, oh, hey, this team is beating this team, and then they're gonna go there. Let's just not talk about like what could happen. Let's talk about like what is the highest possibility of happening. So our first game, the Justice and Shock. What do you think is gonna happen?
A 3-0, honestly. Justice looked terrible against the Mayhem, which is
I
really
am.
unfortunate because Justice do have really good players. That being said, let's look at the Florida game. They were
Hey,
picking up kills.
wait. Let me say, San Francisco Shock is gonna go 3-1 against the Justice. I'm giving you the map. I'm giving you the map. That's what I'm saying. They could probably do. I think they probably have this. They definitely match DPS wise. Both the DPSs are really good. Tank and Support Shock probably beat them, but I think one of these maps, the Washington DPS probably have a higher peak. I know Proper is insanely good, but Decay and Happy are also like just some of the best in the league.
I think we're also going to see some Bash in this game. That's there's a hot take for the weekend. Shock's going
All
to play
right,
the
well,
Bastion at some point over the weekend.
unless we get Circuit Real, but
Not necessarily
I
in
don't
this
know if we
game,
get,
but at
if they
some
get
point.
Circuit Real, maybe, but
Yeah.
any other map other than Circuit Real, no. All right, now
Atlanta, Florida. So, will Florida play the Reinhardt, or will Atlanta
all right,
finally scrim some London?
uh, it'd be funny if they just all they do is scrim Reinhardt and then they have to face an
And
actual
then
comp.
they play Monkey.
Yeah,
Which I
but
mean,
being
they've
for
been
real,
scrimming Monkey. So
I'm gonna have this go another 3-1 in the way of mayhem.
yeah, I do agree with that. As I said, like Ryan, the
Or
Reigns' weakness is Reinhardt, and I feel like someone could probably pick up Reinhardt pretty well and kind of just roll the team.
or
So
or
go on.
hear me out. I got a hankering for maybe a map 5. Maybe this could be a trap game that's just one of those ones we did not expect to be a banger. Or it could be a 3-0, but I'm thinking
I
goes
I
6.
will give Rain the map 5 because Because they're my team, dang it.
If I give Justice a map, you can give them a map. Or two. You can give them two.
Alrighty, so then on to the rest of the day. So Houston versus Gladiators. This is honestly kind of a hard one for me to pick here. The logical sense would say that the LA Gladiators are going to win. But we look at Houston and we see the fact that like they have such big versatility, not so much with like they're only needing to play like one like lineup and being able to play whatever they feel, but they have Piggy and Dante. Dante can play Doomfist. I'm kind of surprised they're not running Dante on Zarya comps, since Dante was playing during Goats. I wasn't he their Zarya player?
Dante during Ghosts was a Zarya player? I thought that was...
That's what I was asking you.
No,
that was hydration. That was hydration, yeah. I don't even remember what Dante played, if he was even played at all. But I feel like I've seen Dante playing Zarya before. That
He might have been on Brig.
No, that was Jake.
I thought
that was Jake.
Whatever.
Why do you think that when Jake came back most time he was playing Brig?
Okay, let me say something different about this match though that like would probably that may or may not play into this match. Like who knows if this like actually like affects how the Blaze players do. It does seem like that with the Houston Outlaws. These teams are going to be playing on land, right? And we saw what Houston on land did to the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, you know what? You do make a good point. I'm going to flip it instead of a map 5 to Glaz. I'm going to give it a map 5 to Houston.
That's also what I have.
The only issue is that, like, we look at that Dallas-Houston match. I gotta say, probably the reason why Dallas did so poorly is because Houston was reliant on the Doomfist comps, which nobody expected at that point. Everyone kind of expects it, especially from Houston. So it could definitely not favor Houston, but I want to give Houston the benefit of the doubt, mainly because I am a Houston fan. And also, I want one of my teams to do well in this tournament.
It would be funny to have Unter trash talk and to have his team lose winners round 1. It'd be funny.
Toronto Fuel. 3-0 for the Fuel. Yeah, easy. Toronto has decent players.
I think,
but
going off of average skill level, I think Defiant is the worst. On like everyone's worst day, probably Justice, but on like everyone's average day, probably Toronto.
Yeah. Alright, so entering into Friday, we have the Shock and the Mayhem opening the weekend. Here's a place where I think that we might disagree. I do want to give it to the Mayhem. Because
I'm not giving Florida Mayhem Shock's first loss.
Let me explain here. So, the Florida Mayhem, against Sir Majed and Someone, 2 really great rookies. Someone's Winston is one of the best in the league, if not the best. I know he had a couple of first place stats.
Oh, you want to talk about like rookie of the years? Look at everyone on Shock except for Violet. Like that entire team is 6-0 right now. 5 of them being rookies. Actually,
Sir Majed.
Finn is literally doing just as good as him right now. Finn is literally doing just as good.
I don't know, man, but Sir Majed. No, but like Florida, I think they have the underdog kind of story going into this matchup, just because it's well known that Shock Florida matches has never gone in Florida's way. So to see that Florida coming into this, they're red hot coming into this tournament. Sure, they're the 4th seed, but that's even more motivation for them. Shock is at the top of their game right now, and that's when Shock are most often playing at like their memeiest. That's when we see stuff like Super Genji, uh, Violet
This is
McCree.
tournaments, not when they do that. The memes.
But that's beside the point. That my point more so is just being that's when they play more silly ways is when they're like
Okay.
at a peak, and
Okay.
they just want to basically assert their dominance. I feel like that might come to bite the Shock.
But like this isn't last year's Shock, nor
It's
is it.
not, but that's they played. They've already pulled out Bastion. They're already
I,
doing it.
yeah, but you can afford to do that against Vancouver. I feel. I
Like
don't
this
think
is
you
a
can
new
afford to
Shock,
do.
but at the same time, they're still doing the same things.
It's that crusty coaching, man.
I'm waiting to see Kaluge be playing Genji. They're gonna flip proper and not proper. Is it proper that plays Genji or is it Finn?
It's Sam, I think.
Duh. They're gonna flip Sam and Kaluge. Sam's gonna go play Monkey and Kaluge is gonna go play Genji. Like, or they're gonna switch Violet over to playing Monkey. That way, uh, then we
I
can have
mean,
Violet being the second player
they
to ever play all three
they have
roles.
Violet playing like main healer, which is you know is a little bit of a meme, but it's still working for them.
Yeah, but that's just because they have nothing but they had no other choice really,
They literally have no other choice. I mean, they did have a choice to sign another healer, but
and
they
they
decided
never
not to.
did. But I do want to give Florida the win here just because I think that they really just have the momentum. And it would be even more of a momentum if they beat Atlanta 3-0.
If they do, but I mean, I didn't even think that Atlanta Mayhem game is a like clear cut victory. Like I think that Shock Washington's probably a clear cut victory, but the Atlanta Reign and Florida Mayhem, it's not as clear cut as like we were talking about originally. I think Atlanta could definitely beat Mayhem if they work out their kinks.
All they need to do is scrim some Reinhardt.
Scrim some Reiner, scrim some Winston, all that. Yeah, it's
And then winners round two, we get the rematch between the Houston Outlaws and the Dallas Fuel. Uh, man, this is honestly a kind of hard
this
one.
is this is a difficult match. Although I
Do
think
you go with the history of the season,
revenge,
or do you go
revenge,
with revenge?
revengeance. That's what I got. No amount of land can save Fuel from the 3-0 or Houston from the 3-0.
I'm gonna say the opposite. I think Dallas is gonna lose. However, Dallas is gonna take it close, but I think it's just gonna come down to the fact that Houston just got that land diff. Wait, hold on. Yeah, this is also a Dallas homestand. Houston got it. Houston has this. Easy. Easy. Houston has it. It's a Dallas homestand, bro.
Alright.
It's a Dallas homestand and it's land. Houston's got this.
Still think Fuel's gonna come out swinging hard. That's what I got. But
Alright,
anyways,
so elimination round one. The Justice versus the Reign. This is hard for me.
this is hard because the last time they went, it was a 3-0 for the Justice. But like, given my score for the Houston Dallas match, which that was a 3-0 for Houston, I'm throwing out the last matches out the window here. And I think personally, yeah, I'm gonna have to bite the bullet on this one. Sorry, Justice.
Yeah, I think I do legitimately think Justice are going to get knocked out here. Even if Justice are playing the Reinhardt, I think that Reign is just going to be better. They just have
Unless,
the better
unless,
players.
unless Justice start playing like differently. Like, I'm starting to say this, but like Mag, he used to be like one of my favorite players on the Justice, but like he's not performing as well as I'd hope he would. Like he's not that like expert tier Winston.
Yeah. Toronto Glads though, I want to give Toronto a map somewhere. So I'm
I'll
just gonna
give
give
him
it
a
to
map
him against
against
the
Gladiators. Yeah.
yeah, because didn't these
Oh,
two face
it's
off
it's
already?
it's not letting me give a map to Glads or not. It's not letting me give a map to Toronto. So I think that's my computer telling me what it's gonna be a
I
3-0.
could
So
have
I'm
sworn
gonna believe.
haven't didn't Glads and Toronto face off before this season?
I don't think so.
No, they haven't.
Yeah.
No, they
Yeah.
did. But yeah, no, Glads like they're strong, but at the same time they do have that like struggle of just being able to remain consistent. And Toronto is Toronto. They're like the best of the worst, the worst of the best. So I really don't have much
Man,
else to say about Toronto.
dude, my my bracket's looking very interesting though. Let me tell you. Like if my bracket is the one that is true, man, these are gonna be some fun matches to watch. But like, okay, we have different winners. Actually, is winners round three? Okay, that
Mine's
happens
Florida,
at.
Houston.
Actually, let's go to elimination round two since that's first. So
Oh
for
no, it isn't.
elimination
Oh,
round two,
it is. That's
yeah.
weird.
So yeah, we have different ones. So you can go over yours,
So
and I'll go over,
for me,
but don't
Atlanta
take.
Shock. I don't even think Atlanta's gonna take a map off the Shock, and that's coming from someone who's a huge Atlanta Reign fan. I don't think they have it in them. Not even close. Uh, Shock just have amazing players, amazing coaching. Atlanta has good players, but where they struggle is just being able to, just like the Gladiators, remain consistent. And when it comes to a team that has such versatility as the Shock, the Atlanta Reign just are incapable of keeping up.
Yeah,
And that's just gonna.
they lost that Atlanta coaching, or not Atlanta. They lost that Australian coaching at Hunter, so unfortunate for them. But for mine, I still have it basically the same outcome. I have it Florida Mayhem beating the Rain in a 3-1. I think they're probably gonna after their first match where they do a little hiccup and go a map 5. It's gonna be a little bit cleaner, but Rain are still gonna probably take like a push map or something, something like a controller push. Could definitely see that, but in the end, they're still going to be knocked out second
So the
or
next
no,
match,
third.
Elimination Round Two, for me, it's LA Gladiators and the Dallas Fuel. Here, Dallas, I think are probably going to three. I'm going to give Glads a map. You know what? 3-2. It's going to be a map 5. Glads are going to go up 2, and Dallas are going to reverse sweep. It's going to be 2 weeks ago all over again.
Hilarious, but funny.
So
My
Gladiators, they've been able to keep strong against the Dallas Fuel, but they just like to crumble, and I see that happening this time, just as it did 2 weeks ago.
my elimination round two, the Los Angeles Gladiators versus the Houston Outlaws. Then this one, I have Gladiators going 3-2 against the Outlaws, even though I have Outlaws winning again in a map 5 against the Gladiators. I think with a nice momentum win against the Defiant and my Fuel beating Houston Outlaws in a 3-0, I think Gladiators will maybe be able to clinch out the series in a 5 map series, moving them to the next elimination round.
So going on to winners round 3, since that comes right after that. Mine is Florida Houston. I'm gonna give it to Florida. I will give Houston a map though. Just kind of like what I was saying with stuff with the Shock. Uh, Checkmate has really proven himself. I think that's something that needs to kind of be said is that uh, last season Checkmate looked terrible, easily one of the worst players in the league, which is saying something, especially when you had the entire LA Valiant. But Checkmate was awful, and then coming into the season, he's really proven that he's turned up.
What he,
He's a
what he
lot
can do
better
on
now,
DPS?
huh?
what he can do on DPS.
Yeah, that he can actually play on DPS. He's not just going to replace OG while he's taking another mental health break. Uh, which I mean, that's quite terrible of me to say, but at the same time, that is just what happened. Uh, Florida, you, they're such a good team, which is it pains me to say it,
I'm
but
surprised you even have them up here. Like,
I know. But man, it's just they have such a strong start to the season, even though they cheated. They're
oh
gonna
yeah, they did.
they're gonna
They
get
did.
here without cheating this time. Uh, but
Yeah,
that's not to
so,
say that Houston's bad. I think that Houston is a really good team, but the land diff won't change anything here.
all right. So winners round three for me. I have this absolute banger of a matchup: the San Francisco Shock versus the Dallas Fuel. Ooh, I'm just hyped to see these two teams clash off. Even if it's not in kickoff clash, it's gonna happen soon after that. Then that match is gonna be because we'll really get to see who is the best team in the NA region. Because we are really right now at unsure. Like we thought we get the question asked in the Gladiators versus Shock, but then Gladiators started looking kind of iffy, and we're like, okay, Shock. All right, we need to win against like someone else who's like that top tier contender, and the only like other answer we can get is the fuel. And so these teams who like we have the hard proven veterans versus the up and coming rookies. And as of right now, I don't think I can bet against the Shock.
Honestly, I
That's
can,
just it's just a saying. It's just a saying.
because
Never bet against the Shock, which
this
is
is my elimination round three. So
oh yeah, we can both talk about.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
we can both talk about it.
you could
So
easily
mine,
bet against the Shock.
mine. I mean, it's not. I forget what Danny said. In Houston's win against him, but yeah, I do think that Shock have it. It's gonna be a close one, even though I have it as a 3-1. I just don't feel like it's gonna be a map 5 game. I think it's gonna be a really good 3-1 game. We might even see our first draw here. We don't know. I feel like we could definitely see a draw on uh hybrid, but yeah, that's what I have for my Dallas versus Shock.
I have it going map 5 as well, but
I didn't
my
go. I just won 3-1.
oh well, I have mine going map 5. I have it the Shock losing to the Dallas Fuel. Uh, with Dallas, their team is just too strong. Like, sure, Shock is fantastic too, and that's not to say anything. Like, neither of these teams are bad. They're both easily number one and two uh in the entire league, not just in the West region. Like even so in the East, they're better than Spark. They're better than Dragons. They're better than Glads. They're better than Rain. They're better than Outlaws. They're better than Mayhem. Uh, but it's just I don't know, man. Dallas is just such a great team. They came off of last year disappointing, especially since they didn't make it to grand finals. But this is their redemption arc, and usually it's Shock running through the elimination bracket. But this time, there's two juggernauts fighting for that run through, and it's going to be the Dallas Fuel coming out on top there.
Alright, now is our bracket looking very, very different. We go into my elimination round 3, Florida Mayhem versus the Los Angeles Gladiators. And sorry to say it, Sir Majed, but you cannot carry a team to a grand finals. The Los Angeles
I think
Gladiators
you
are going
can.
to take it. No, you can't. I mean, I'm
I
trying to
think
think
you
of a
can.
tournament where I can think of a situation where that happened. I mean, Decay almost did, but as we see, Philly Fusion as a team was able to take down Decay. I think that's why like the Justice we both have the Justice losing like basically round 1, and that's because Justice is a team that relies on those solos plays, like plays that Decay like makes for the Justice. It's like the Flood is basically the same team,
You
but they
want an
can also
example
play as a
though
team.
of the one player carrying?
What was
Do you
that?
have, I said you want an example of one player carrying?
What?
Atlanta Reign Pelican Grand Finals.
I'd say it's a team.
Even at high ping, he was still dominating.
That was that was definitely a team performance. But even
It
then, they
kind of was,
didn't
but
win
Reign
grand
was still dominant.
finals.
They
They
didn't,
did not
but
win.
he carried them to the actual finals of the tournament. You said Surmaj can't. Pelican could, and he did.
Whatever. Well, I mean, Pelican isn't doing much of that.
Yeah, no, he's
This.
not now.
Yeah.
For me, he is
But
kind of.
that I do have Gladiators winning in a map. I'm gonna say map 4. Yes. I'm torn. I think map 4 is good. I think we'll give Florida map a map. Maybe it'll be an escort or something like that. And Los Angeles Gladiators might be like uh they might everything else. Just Los Angeles Gladiators. It's like just a better team. Like, or I shouldn't say, because they have Shu, they have Skew. Their support line is just really good. I haven't been like insanely impressed by Anamo. I think the Gladiators have the better Lucio play. I think they also have the better tank play because they're so versatile on tank because they can play. They have Space and Reiner. Mayhem just really only do someone who
Isn't that their only tank player?
pretty sure. But I think at the end of the day, the Gladiators can clinch us out.
Elimination Round 4, for me, is the Dallas Fuel and Houston Outlaws coming at it for the second time in this tournament and the third time in the kickoff clash. Uh, both times, or the first time, I had them winning. This time, though, it's just, oh man, this is kind of difficult because Houston has the Dallas homestand LAN advantage, but at the same time, this is a top tier team running through a losers bracket. It really could go either way for me, but I am going to give it to the Dallas Fuel to go into the grand finals. However, I am going to say that Houston will make it very, very competitive. That is all I have to say about that.
Alright, so my elimination round 4 is going to be the Dallas Fuel versus the Gladiators, which I'm pretty sure that happened earlier on in your bracket, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. But I think I have it at like such a late point, and it's another like head scratcher for me. The last mini of it was a reverse sweep for the Dallas Fuel, but maybe with an extra set of confidence, the Gladiators might, and I'm going to say it, will pinch it out against the Fuel. It's a hot take, I know, especially since I have them losing
Bro, it's so
round
spicy
one.
it makes us
It's
a
it's
ghost
so
pepper
spicy.
scene.
It's almost smart. It's almost smart.
It's such
Not
a
smart.
hot take. It makes a ghost pepper seem like a bell pepper.
Yeah, and it's gonna make it like it's gonna be. It would be definitely an upset too for Fuels being so good, which I hate having the Fuel go out round 2. I definitely feel like they should and could win. It's just I don't even have it. I'm even thinking about having Fuel beat the Shock, but yeah, I think Shock can still. It's. I think I'm probably gonna have Shock be at the finals right now, and I'm gonna have Gladiators move on to the finals.
I'll let you talk about your finals first.
All right, so San Francisco Shock versus the Los Angeles Gladiators. Another match where the Glads have been reverse sweep. But I think it's going to be very difficult to if they're put in that position again or to reverse sweep because it's going to be first to 4 now. So I feel like
It would be
I
quite a
feel
long
like
game.
yeah, it would be a long game. I don't think we're gonna get a reverse sweep
We would
happen
also
in
get a
round.
few draws in there. You know, maybe like a map 10
I mean, you could only draw on like
hybrid.
what is it? Yeah,
You would
hybrid.
hit hybrid
You can't
twice.
you can draw on push. We've almost seen that happen now, but we didn't get it. So and it's so unlikely. But I do think that I'm going to say the Shock will win it,
You can
but in
also
a
you also can
map,
draw on escort. It is just incredibly
it's
incredibly
even harder.
unlikely.
I know you can do that, but like it's much more like conceptual or like it's much more I'd say common, but not that much more common to draw and push because it stops the checkpoint, and then if you just go back to the checkpoint and have the other one cap the checkpoint, and then you end the round, then that'd be an opportunity for a draw. But yeah, I think shock. Ooh, do I wanna say 4-3? That would be. Hmm. I'll just say 4-2. You know what? Have it be a slightly competitive series like the 2020 Grand Finals or like any of them other maps like that.
I thought you were about to say 2021. I was gonna say how on earth was that competitive?
Yeah, I think mm, it'll be decently competitive. I think, gosh, now I want to say I'm going. I don't want to have it go. I don't want to have it go map 7 because I feel like that's just too. That's just too storyline-ish or like too like scripted. I feel. I don't know why, but like I hate map sevens. I don't hate map sevens and like because they're fun to watch, but like I feel like they rarely ever come, and it's like only in extreme circumstances. Because most of the grand finals we've had have been like sweeps, and
Yeah,
there was that one,
the sweep
or
of
like sweep, or like 4-2, or like there was that one time
I mean London
where
didn't
Shanghai,
London swept Philly.
yeah,
I think Shock also swept Titans,
yeah, I know
and then
there was
Seal
that one.
took like a map or two, and then
Yeah, they took
Atlanta got
two
swept by
maps.
Dragons.
Yeah, but like this is a tournament grand finals, which it's, I mean, Fusion and I remember that Fusion and Paris match, that one map or a 7. Uh, there was that what was it? The Seal Shanghai reverse sweep we are talking about. So they can go map 7, but I don't feel like anyone's gonna do that. That's all my thoughts on finals 4-2 shock.
All right, to close off the longest pick'ems video of the tournament so far, uh, Florida and Dallas. Yeah, I think Florida might take them out, but I think when it just comes to Dallas, I mean they're way too strong of a team with Hanbin and Fearless both being able to give the team such flexibility with their picks. You also have Edison and Sparkle
Kurt.
and Doha, all really good players, being able to also again provide a lot of flexibility. We saw like Doha and Sparkle both picking up characters like Soldier and McCree at the end of last season. So they could even randomly pick those out, but they'll probably just stick with Edison so that they actually have a hit scan player. Like
Yeah, I'm
Dallas just has so much flexibility with their options that Florida just can't can't compete against that.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if you'll end up winning this tournament because it's very winnable. The only reason I'm hesitant is, like we said earlier, this is a LAN tournament, so
And there's also the Houston Outlaws in their way.
there's there's a Houston Outlaws in their way, yeah. But
So that
we'll
is
we'll
the
see.
June not June joust. Uh, whatever
Now
this
let's
tournament
go
is.
to East Region.
Oh my god, we still have
Hooray!
East Region. Oh god.
We only have like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We only have 6.
6 games or 5 games. Yeah, six.
I
I
yeah
can't
6.
count. We've been talking about this for an hour plus, almost an hour 10 minutes. So
Well, it is the
Fusion
first
start
tournament.
Fusion Spark 3-1 Spark. I think it's just going to be the same as it was this past week to close out the kickoff clash.
I think it'll probably be. No, I can't argue with that, but I think it's gonna be 3-0. It's
It could go
Fusion.
either way. I just know for a fact that Fusion's not taking it anywhere past one map. Who knows? Maybe Boston will come. Wait, no, that's actually the next game. So the Seoul Dynasty / Boston Uprising is the Shanghai Dragons.
I'm still all right. I'm gonna have Shanghai win this, but I'm still stubborn. I'm making them at 5. I'm still stubborn. Seoul are gonna make the distance. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. One of these days, Seoul's gonna make it a really close game. Will they win or lose?
I'm just making day one be identical to what oh wait, no, yes, Fusion did take 2 maps yet on Sunday. Oh well, they're taking 1 map today. Or Friday. So
Yeah, Shanghai are gonna win this one, so that's that.
I have it being 3-1 Seoul. Like, sure, you have playoff profit, but playoff profit obviously isn't that great anymore.
All right, now I go to elimination round 1. We're breezing
Philly,
through this.
Philly and Seoul.
We already know who's winning. I feel.
Yeah, Seoul.
Unless Fusion's making the grand finals, which I don't feel like they are, or not grand finals, just finals.
Fusion sweeps their way to the finals just to get swept by the Hangzhou Spark.
So we have
That could just be how this goes, by the way. Fusion could go on a tirade, 3-0 the Spark, 3-0 the Dragons, and then get 3-0'd by anyone. Literally anybody.
The Dynasties.
Yeah. Seoul could somehow make it to finals and sweep them. I mean, like, really.
That'd be hilarious.
It would be.
Like, that'd be the most Fusion thing to ever happen.
It would be the most Philadelphia Fusion kind of thing to do. But we're going off of reality here. Fusion's gonna get 3-0'd by the Dynasty. I've kind of lost all faith in this team.
I have them going out and taking no maps whatsoever. Fusion fans are gonna be mad, and
they're always mad.
Yeah, I have no idea why Fusion has any fans. The only fans they probably have are Carpe's fans.
The ultimate disappointment. Philadelphia.
I don't even know how you could be. I don't even know how you could be a Philadelphia fan. Like, gosh, any Philadelphia.
I quit being a Fusion fan just because how terrible they became.
Like, I'm not a fan of like quitting teams, but I feel like that's like, it's kind of. I mean, unless a team's done something like really bad, I feel like you stick with your team. But like Fusion fans, I feel like you have a pass.
To me, it's just I lose interest in them. But, Spark Dragons, for me, this is a hard one because I'm a huge Dragons fan, but the Spark have so much momentum going into this tournament.
For me, I know I got my pick right here.
So who do you have?
I have the Shanghai Dragons pulling it out in a map 4 against the Spark. Is that what you're gonna do too?
I gotta agree with you, but I think it's gonna go to map 5.
Shanghai Dragons looking ever so better.
Yeah,
they're getting used to this thing. Like everyone on that team is gonna be like fielder by this tournament.
High ping gods,
Yeah, they could probably play against like every single team on NA and probably be like top 3. That may be a bit of a stretch here, but. They could definitely beat like the lower halves on like across the ocean playing from China.
History also says that the Sparker would go map 5. So.
Well, as you can see with my tournament results, history has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, they don't. Which in that case, then I'm gonna give it to the Spark. History got nothing to do with it. Seoul Dragons.
Okay. So is Seoul gonna lose? Let's see, because
Seoul gonna lose. Yeah, they are. I think they're gonna get swept this time rather than the Fusion.
I think it's gonna be a map 5, but Seoul are gonna get a win against Fusion and be like, "Hey, we remember how to win," and then they might win. That's horrible reasoning, but it's still reasoning.
Yeah. So you have Seoul going as a Spark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So finals, it's basically winners round two all over again. The Spark and the Dragons.
I have
Or do
winners
you have
round
the
one.
Dynasty? Did you say the Dynasty win?
Yeah, I have Dynasty in the finals.
Oh. I don't know, man. Like, Spark is just really strong.
I know.
Healthy.
I even said like Spark are looking really good, and then I have them doing a terrible performance. I mean,
You
not
just
so terrible.
underestimate the power of anime.
I miss the power of railgun,
Yeah.
shoot, scientific railgun, whatever that series. Oh, good
You
animation. Watch
underestimate
it.
the power of anime. The Spark, I mean, you have Elfie, you have Shy, Gushue, Bernard. It is just a phenomenal team. They have the opportunity of a lifetime right now. And I feel like after this tournament, it may go away. So, just for my own like hopes and dreams, I'm gonna give it to the Hangzhou Spark. However, I am gonna make it go to map 7. Maybe even throw a draw in there as well.
Do you want to elaborate, or do you want me to give my hot take?
I mean, I already did because I have Spark. I gave my explanation of why Spark is better.
Just kidding. It's not a hot take. It's just Dragons beating Dynasty 1. I mean, the hot take is Dynasty making it to finals. But I mean, I'm still I my APAC. I'm still in like preseason fives right now. I'm still like, man, Dynasty and Dragons. Let's go. Those are like the two top teams, and it's just like
And then
I
I'm
really
in
just should be
reality
putting my.
here.
I really should just be like going for like the Spark because the Spark's a safe pick, and probably even
Why do you think I'm
a
going with
favorite
the Spark? They are the safe
because
pick.
I want to go like spicy route because like if it ends up paying off, like I'm paid off. I'm gonna look like a genius, and if it doesn't pay off, well, it's like at least I tried, you know.
It's either it pays off and you look really smart, or it doesn't and you look like an idiot.
Actually, yeah, that makes more sense because there is a win-lose situation to it, and looking like an idiot is one of them. But
So
if
our,
Spark,
so
I-
yeah,
watch
Spark
watch
easily could
watch
make it.
Philly,
I think
watch
that there's
Philly.
3 teams that could easily make it: Dragons, Spark, and Dynasty. It just all
Watch,
comes to a matter of how their performances are. I mean, APAC is such is a tournament where literally anything can happen.
we just gotta watch Philly run through the bracket,
Yeah, we
and
could even see Philly run through the bracket and make it to finals and get swept.
I mean, if there's any tournament to win, it's this one since there's so few games that they have to play. All they have
Yeah,
to do is like if they beat Spark and Dragons, I mean, they can pretty much beat anyone. I mean, if they beat like Spark and then they go to winners finals and beat whoever's in there, they can really just beat anyone. But that's a tall order for
it is a
a
tall
team.
order for the Philadelphia Fusion. That's why it's not going to happen. But with that being said, that is the kickoff clash. Just to quickly like do a recap, not really a recap of our entire pick'ems for this. So for the East region, I have the Spark going. I actually switched it to 4-2 against the Dragons in the finals, giving the Spark the victory in the kickoff clash. And for the West region, I have the Dallas Fuel and Florida Mayhem going 4-1 with Dallas winning for the West region.
And for my certified chat predictions, I've got the Dragons and Dynasty. Dragons winning 4-1. And I have the Shock and the Gladiators with the Shock winning 4-2.
So basically, our predictions are nothing alike, and our end results are somehow flipped. With 4-1 being my West region and your APAC, and 4-2 being my APAC and your West region.
I mean, we all agree on one thing, that Shanghai will make it to finals.
Yeah, that is the
And
only thing
so
that we agree on.
that's the only thing we agree on, pretty
All
much.
of my all of my predictions here, I feel like, are based in reality outside of the Florida Mayhem. That's just kind of my own desire to see Sir Majed make it to finals, but that's also because I stand Sir Majed.
I mean,
Not
yeah, you're.
actually.
I mean, winners up to winners round 3, basically. My winners rounds, those are based in reality. I feel. My actual elimination rounds, not so much. But elimination rounds, those are where the stuff happens. I mean, no team wants
And
to go home,
even
that's for sure.
even then, my winners, if you even if Shock beats Mayhem there, my predictions basically stay the same. It'll be map 5 for Florida losing. Shock will beat Houston 3-1. And then I still have Fuel beating Shock. Maybe do a map 7.
Also,
Uh,
we're forgetting one thing. We're forgetting one thing.
what?
We always talk about playoffs profit, and these are actual playoffs. We're not talking about
No.
tournaments. No, these are the actual playoffs.
But Seal, no. He'll have his playoff profit moment against the Fusion and losers bracket and losers round 1.
I think the entire team will have their playoffs moment because
Yeah,
it's
they'll
hard to
all
look
have it
bad
against
against.
the Fusion and losers round 1. That's just the simple fact. All right, that's all I feel like talking about because I am tired.
That is all I feel.
So
Yeah,
hopefully one of our predictions are right. Hopefully mine because Stan's for my jet. That's why. But in reality, I think that this tournament's looking to be quite unpredictable for the most part. Outside of stuff like Toronto and Justice, I think that those are two teams that like you don't really need a like any kind of hot take to because it'd be wrong. Like whatever
yeah.
you're about to say, it's gonna be wrong.
As much as we like our favorite teams, we gotta accept reality a bit.
Yeah, because I mean, like my
Even
favorite team is at least for the West regions Atlanta, and I'm having them literally be 3-0'd twice. Like I don't know, I'm going 3-2 against Florida, but that easily could be a 3-0. So it all just depends on just what the teams are running. So thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys next week when it comes. No, actually, don't they take a week off?
uh June 4th, that's next week, basically, or
Yeah.
all
So
that.
we will be
Or,
seeing you
no, that's this
guys.
week. What? That's this week. Wait. 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 Wait.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it's this
Friday
week.
is the 4th.
That's this week. What am I talking about?
Oh no, Saturday is the 4th. Can't even look at mid-season madness. Oh well. We'll see you guys either next week or the week after with the mid-season madness.